What's up and welcome to the Sam Dracula channel, a Charlotte Hornets fan channel. And the season's over. The Hornets season's over with. Pardon the lack of videos the last few weeks and months. Pardon the lack of streams, but not a great season. Thought I would spend some time outside and then watching the games on demand later. But I will say though, I'm very happy the season's over with, and I'm excited that the offseason is here because now there's something positive to look forward to, because watching this team play, not a lot of good things, some good things, not all bad, but not a lot. All right. And I think there's more positives potentially to come out this offseason than we've seen the last 12 months, starting with last year's play-in game until game 82. We're in a new phase of Hornets basketball. Hopefully we're moving up in the world. I had a whole thing planned for this video, but instead I'm going to do something different. I'm just going to react to Bobby Marks's video on the Charlotte Hornets. He's going to go over all the cap stuff, the free agent stuff, the draft stuff. I'm going to give my thoughts as he's talking. But before I do that, I don't know if he gets into Clifford. Here's the video here, right? I don't see Clifford on his whiteboard back here, but I will say I really enjoyed Steve Clifford coming back and coaching this team. I thought he did a great job, all things considered. I don't think there's a coach alive that could have done a significantly better job than Steve Clifford, given what he had to work with on short notice, given the Kenny Atkinson yes and then no situation last year. Also, it's very hilarious that homie's going to interview for the Rockets job after declining the Hornets job, but that's a whole different thing. The Sam Dracula channel is Team Cliff, all right, officially. All right, run it back next year. We'll see what happens in year 3 when he has the team option, but year 2, Cliff, bring it on.
Everyone is doing well out there. The Charlotte Hornets off-season video. We're going to spend some time kind of doing a little bit of a deep dive.
Also, real quick, I don't believe his microphone is on, so that's an L. But let's move.
Into the Hornets, as you can see behind me.
I think it's webcam audio that we're listening to. So apologies. Come on, ESPN.
We've got the resources to kind of build the roster up. We will take a picture of that. We'll attach it to the video.
So let's just get to it. So I see draft 2 first-round picks. The fourth best odds at the first pick could be 1, could be 8, somewhere in there. You got the Nuggets pick and then 3 2s. You have the PJ restricted free agency situation. You have Miles Bridges. We'll see what happens with that. Lamelo Ball, all-star but health. Good question. What's for year 4 Lamelo going to look like? The centers, Mark Williams, Nick Richards. Hayward has an expiring contract that could be very useful depending on what the Hornets want to do with it. Speaking of all of those picks plus Hayward's contract, Hornets can get mixy if they want to. And then behind his right shoulder, I see some exceptions. I see a mid-level, and I can't really see the rest, but let's get into it.
The Hornets off-season article is up on ESPN.com. We've done it a little bit differently this year, done a little bit of a twist. Instead of 30 separate articles, we have one big rolling document. So right now, there are...
Come on, man. I know it's the Hornets, but bro has an Uber Eats delivery during this.
10 teams up on ESPN. One big rolling document. So right now, there are 10 teams up on ESPN.com. The teams that were...
I had to skip ahead a bit because he was plugging the article, which go check out, I guess. But
and Charlotte's in a situation here. Yeah, anytime your second best player, Miles Bridges, gets arrested last offseason and your top player, Lamelo Ball, breaks his foot and is out a good chunk of the year.
3 ankle injuries.
You say that's a good season, right? That's like
Fact.
Anything that could have gone wrong went wrong here.
True.
But when you look at the big picture of where Charlotte is now compared to where they were a year ago, they are in a healthier position to build this roster.
I'm gonna stop him real quick. I'm with him with Hayward's expiring and no more Nick Batum money on the cap. It's over with. Nick Batum officially not counting against that $9 million a year. No longer a thing in Charlotte. That's a W. All right, let's move.
Because I'm not sure that if Bridges was signed and Ball stayed healthy, what is the upside of this roster? Is it 40 wins again and you're sneaking into the play-in for a team that lost 2 years in a row, got blown out in the play-in here? You bottomed out, and probably not by your own doing, by the Bridges situation, by
it seemed
Ball,
like an accidental
injuries
tank
all over the roster. You traded Plumlee at the deadline, Oubre out for most of the year. And now you enter the offseason with 5 draft picks.
Yeah. Also, real quick, I'm gonna make videos on every one of these like players, basically most of the roster during the summer. So stay tuned for that. All right. Instead of making one big video talking about all the players, I'm gonna make a video for each player. You mentioned Oubre, PJ, and Miles Bridges top of the priority list. So stay tuned.
You have the chance, 12.5 chance to draft Victor.
Yes, sir.
You have a late first from Denver.
Shout out Jalen Duren.
And you have 3 quality seconds.
Yes, sir.
34, 39, and either 42 or 43. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is the most important offseason in Charlotte history. Based on the draft capital that you have. Not what you owe in the future. You owe that San Antonio pick. But the draft capital that you have. You've got to nail the draft.
That San Antonio pick turns into 2-2s if the Hornets stay in the lottery. Just saying. If they don't get better, they keep that pick.
All 5 picks? No. But you got to nail the top pick. Whether it be 4 or 2 or wherever your position. And you've got to find value late in the first round. And I know I've been hard on Charlotte.
Which they have before.
Wrote an article in December about them.
They've been eating.
They found good value in Mark Williams. They found good value in Nick Richards, their 2 centers. Certainly, we can talk about Lamelo as far as what he's been able to do, and he's got to stay healthy here. Book Night has been a huge disappointment. I don't see him being part of the future. Kai Jones is another player. They actually have done a better job drafting in the second round than in the first round.
2021 wasn't enough
with the Hornets.
2 massive L's.
The draft is your focus because let's face it, you're not one of these teams like Houston that's got $60 million in cap space or $45 million in cap space. You enter the offseason with $91 million in contracts, including your picks. You're over the cap because of the Miles Bridges and PJ Washington free agent holds. Both players basically dictate as far as what you do this offseason here. Hey, if you want to let both guys go, and I don't think you're going to let PJ go, you can go into the offseason with cap flexibility.
Absolutely not, by the way. If PJ leaves this team for anything other than a sign-and trade, massive L, because PJ is a real NBA player that can contribute on every good team in the league. He can fit into any 9 to 7 man rotation in the league. PJ's a real player, and he deserves to be paid.
Here, the Bridges decision highlights basically the offseason here. Yeah. And as Woj wrote, Michael Jordan is in talks to sell
that's why it's a big
stake
summer.
Of this team.
That's the big part of the summer.
Still retain a percentage.
MJ selling the team.
And if you're an incoming owner,
they're gonna shake the whole thing up.
Do you want your first signings to be Miles Bridges?
Rip.
Based on everything that's happened over the last year, and I know the charges have been downgraded from a felony, pled no contest. He is still going to face a long suspension.
Yeah.
25, 30 games. So you are going to lose him off the top of the season. So now you have to make a decision. Weird, do you extend him that qualifying offer at the end of June? Do you tag him again with the restricted, or do you just kind of let him go and just get a clean slate? If it was me right now, I would just let him go. Just let him go. Maybe tag him in the beginning and then maybe pull it. If you want to work at it, maybe there's a sign and trade out there.
Yeah, I would love a sign and trade. Forget the felony domestic violence stuff, even though that's a hard thing to forget. Bridges showed before that happened, between him getting kicked out of the most important game of the year last year, the play-in, right? Throwing his mouthpiece into the stands, posting a pink lemonade, quote unquote, picture on Instagram. Miles Bridges was showing a level of immaturity, not of a guy you want to pay $25-30 million a year. And then he go ahead and gets himself in trouble, like real big trouble, which means he misses the entire year. I'd be concerned about marrying myself to Miles Bridges. So him getting dipped out on a sign and trade, I'm here for it. Two things. The Sam Dracula channel is Team Cliff and Team Sign and Trade Miles Bridges.
But for me in Charlotte, Miles Bridges is not part of the future. Now PJ is going to be an interesting story based on, hey, his numbers have all gone up. Efficiency has dropped a little bit as his minutes went. What's going to be the cost from him? He'll get a he'll get a qualifying offer. He'll be a restricted free agent. $17-18 million. What's your number that you're comfortable with? So it starts with the draft.
I think PJ gets 20.
Certainly.
And real quick on PJ, just year over year, he's had to do something different every year. He started his first year, second year he was made to play center. The third year was coming off the bench. Fourth year he's a starter again. Bro has been showing a lot of versatility and adaptability in different roles for the team since he got drafted by Charlotte. He's a dude worth investing in long term, right? $20 million is a lot, but I think he's better than John Collins. So hey, I think
getting LaMelo healthy. You have to make a decision as far as with Bridges with his qualifying offer. I think PJ's a no-brainer that you will extend him, and that's kind of your domino of off-season. I've got the article up here as far as what you want to do. I mean, I think the interesting thing is that since 2018, I wrote this in there, the only free agents with NBA experience that Mitch Kupchak, their general manager, has signed was Gordon Hayward, who's basically been injured his first 3 years.
Facts.
And Dennis Smith Jr. Kelly Oubre was a sign and trade here. And Hayward is going into the last year. He's got a $31.5 million expiring contract. So Charlotte could be a destination for free agents. I'm not saying it isn't. It could be. Right now it isn't. That roster's got to get better for it. It's one of these sleeping giants down there. But it starts with the draft, starts with the front office priorities is Bridges, and then Washington. Figure out what you want to do, and then the extension candidate to watch. Right, that's going to be your next big thing as far as LaMelo. Right, it comes quickly. Right, it was 2020 when him and Anthony Edwards and Wiseman were drafted. Now he is extension eligible. Are you comfortable committing 5 years, $204 million to a player that has played only 162 games in 3 seasons? Fully guaranteed. That's going to be the big question. Mm-hmm. Can you do a Zion-type contract where you're guaranteeing for the first 2 years, and then years 3 to 5 are basically determined based on games played as far as the protection kicks in? That is something that you are going to need to figure out, and that is going to be a priority also.
I love LaMelo Ball. I own 2 of his jerseys. I had some of his shoes, but I sold them after he broke his ankle for the 3rd time. He's now wrong. I talked about this before. Year 4 for LaMelo is going to be really interesting. Year 2 LaMelo, perfectly healthy, all-star year. Everything was great. But year 1 got hurt, year 3 got hurt. It's what kind of guy is he going to be? Is he going to be a guy that just gets hurt and you just kind of know it, build around it? There are plenty of superstars in this league that they're not going to play all 82. It's like, all right, well, just throwing it out there could go either way, right? But I hope he's one of those guys that can stay healthy the entire year. But it's a genuine, legitimate question that Mitch Kupchak and the entire organization should be wondering. Yes, though, 100% sign him to the max, give him the 5 years. But from just a roster building point of view, because like if the Hornets end up with the 2nd pick, right? You're like, oh, we got LaMelo. Should we take Scoot? Yes, you should. Just in case LaMelo is one of those guys that can't finish seasons. So let's continue.
What are their needs, right? Besides health, bench.
Yeah.
Bench is a priority in Charlotte. Reserves average 29.4 points, 4th fewest in the NBA, ranked last in 3-point percentage. You've got to fix that bench. Yes. As I said, they owe a pick to San Antonio in 2024. That's top 14 protected. You don't have draft assets to move in a deal. You've only have 4 future 2nd-round picks. So let's start over. Draft. You got to nail the draft. 5 picks, 2 in the 1st, including a chance at getting number 1. You've got to figure out what to do with P.J. Washington, Miles Bridges. You're over the cap. You've got that Gordon Hayward.
I'm sorry. Being this bad and being over the cap is a massive L. Like it's so ass. I hate it so much. You cannot be the 4th worst team in the league and be over the cap. Pick one.
Expiring contract. LaMelo extension 4 for 204. That is your big thing. And then the other thing too is I mentioned about ownership. Like who's going to be in charge? Yeah. If this ownership sale happens, who's in charge of running things? And is that person basically just kind of tear this thing down and basically focus on your draft picks, Lamelo, maybe PJ, Mark Williams, and that's how you kind of build your roster around here. So Offseason of Charlotte is on ESPN.com. You can read all about it. Here is their video for them. It is not doom and gloom, but man, do you have to get the draft right, and you've got to get some clarity as far as the Bridges situation.
All right, so it's not all doom and gloom, according to Bobby Marks. I appreciate the support from a distance. I'm not too confident that what we just witnessed won't happen again. I think there's a really good chance the Hornets are back at the top of the lottery next year, just because it's going to take time to compete with I know the East got weaker in the trade deadline, but the East is still harder than it was last year. And I don't see it getting easier anytime soon. I think next year you're going to see a stronger Milwaukee team, like somehow, right? Philly's going to have their act together again. Boston, Cleveland, they're going to be powerhouses in the East. Teams like Chicago, Brooklyn, like Atlanta, like they're going to be surging, right? You're going to have the dead teams like the Wizards of the world, the Pacers kind of floating in the middle, right? But what about the Magic? The Magic could take a major leap in the offseason and further distance themselves from the Charlotte Hornets. So, yeah, this offseason is super important because I think there's a strong possibility we end up in the mud once again. Hope not, really hope not, because last year was not fun to watch at all, in person or on stream. But we'll see. So stay tuned. I'm going to be making player-specific videos throughout the off season. I just don't have a lot of time, but I will have time next week. That's probably, I'm gonna make a PJ video probably first, then an Oubre one, and then I've been putting off a Miles Bridges video for a long time just because I don't want to talk about him. I haven't made a video about him, and I low key refuse to, but I feel like I kind of have to now. But until next time, I appreciate y'all. Hope this style of video was okay. If y'all like it, I'll do more reactions to Hornets content because it's easier. You know what I mean? Someone else did all the hard work. I'll react to it, right? I could do more of these more often. But hey, listen, game's the game. Until next time, I've been Sam. You've been great. Peace.